Hey there, chatters. I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat. I am your forensic femme fatale. Natalie is your true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls obsessed with dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
And here's your disclaimer, chatters. The following Crime Chat contains adult content and descriptions of potentially gaming violence scenarios today, so your listener discretion is advised.
You've been warned, and before you get into today's Crime Chat, Kat, what have you been up to?
Not dying.
Not dying. You feel better?
Yeah. I was telling you I had a sinus infection and an ear infection. I got a shot in my butt with steroids and a shot in the other cheek with some antibiotics. Started kind of getting a little bit of a fever, but I feel better. I've had 3 or 4 days of antibiotics in my system, so feeling a little bit better, but I haven't really done anything else. Because I've been trying to just stay afloat prior to my next trip and like trying to get all the things done. Oh, I will say though, that one thing I did today, I mentioned a couple months ago, I did a writing workshop and I had another one today and it was a lot of fun. We get stories, like real quick flash fiction stories to use as kind of ideas, and then we get a prompt. One of them was with a landscape, and think of yourself in that landscape. What did that landscape look 100 years ago? Or what will it look like 100 years from now? And it was based on, like I said, a flash fiction. It had kind of that same type of theme. It was just a lot of fun.
Cool. Very
cool. About the beach. That's about it. Just, what about you?
Not much. I did get hooked on, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, YouTube has these log home building channels. Have you ever seen them?
I can't say I haven't seen the channels. I mean, I obviously know what log homes are.
Yeah, so it's super relaxing. There's one channel, he's from, I want to say Sweden. And what he did, he spent like 2 years building a log home without any electricity, just an axe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Button.
And he documented the entire process.
Wow.
It is so interesting, but there's no talking. It's just no music. It's just the sound of nature, him hitting a log, and it's so rhythmic and relaxing. And I'm impressed. That's a hell of an achievement. You have to, something like that is instilled in you. And you learn and you're brought up around it, because he knew everything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what I've been doing. You got to check it out. It's really
impressive.
Cool.
So you wanted me to do an introduction on video games. Not too specific. You didn't give me too much, guidelines in there. But hopefully what I put together will help set you up for your story. So it's somewhere between fascinating industry evolution and unsolved digital mysteries.
Ooh, cool.
Okay, and it's going to be broken up into like different gaming eras. The first part is the Paddles and the Pixels era, 1950s to 1970s. In the beginning, there was light, and then there was Pong. Before the 1970s, gaming meant going outside or staring at a hoop and stick until you fell over from boredom. Then, scientists at places like Brookhaven National Laboratory decided that instead of solving world hunger, they use multi-million-dollar oscilloscopes to play tennis for two. In 1972, Atari gave us Pong. It was a revolutionary experience where 2 white rectangles fought over a square ball, and it was so popular that the first Pong machine reportedly broke down because it was literally overflowing with quarters. Now, each of these eras I'm going to talk about, I'm also going to give you a little crime twist in there. So, the first pixel-related crime, the true crime of this era wasn't murder. No, it was the Great Quarter Heist. Teenagers discovered that if you tied a piece of dental floss to a quarter, you could trick the machine into giving you infinite lives.
Oh my God.
It was the first hack. And it paved the way for generations of kids who thought they were Ocean's 11 because they stole 25 cents from a pizza parlor. Okay, part 2 is the golden age and the crash, the 1980s. Gotta love it. The 80s were a fever dream of neon and questionable fashion. Pac-Man arrived in 1980, teaching children that if you eat enough pills in a dark room while listening to repetitive electronic music, you'll eventually see ghosts. However, by 1983, the industry committed a crime against humanity. E.T., the extraterrestrial for the Atari 2600, and it was so bad that Atari literally buried millions of copies in a New Mexico landfill. Now, This is a cold case of this era, and for decades, this Atari landfill was considered an urban legend, a myth whispered by nerds in the basement of a comic shop. But in 2014, they actually dug it up, and it wasn't a myth. It was a mass grave for plastic cartridges.
Yeah. So I remember that game.
Yeah.
Because my brother had the Atari 2600 and he did buy E.T. And I remember the exact moment where everything went wrong in the game. There was like this pit in the game. And once you got in it, like I remember he couldn't get out of the pit. And it wasn't just him. Like it was, there was a huge glitch in the game.
I don't remember that game. We had an Atari. I don't remember that game specifically.
What was your first console that you bought?
Atari.
Okay.
I don't remember what model. Yeah.
Okay. My parents bought us Atari and then Intellivision.
Intellivision?
Yeah. That was like the competitor back then. It really didn't last long because Atari kind of took over. Okay. So today we're going to talk about, our case is going to cover the darker side of gaming. Elliot Rodger is who we're going to cover. Now, this kid did not see himself as a killer. He saw himself as a victim. Okay. He was ignored, rejected, overlooked, watching everyone else live their lives, believing that he deserved the same, if not better. He spent most of his time alone, online, in games like World of Warcraft. WoW.
Wow.
Another monster. The WoW. That's another monster of a game.
Oh, yeah.
And in his thoughts, where things made sense in World of Warcraft, he didn't understand why real life didn't kind of, turn out the same way. Like, he didn't get the same results when he was fighting bad guys. And
you mean you can't respawn after you fall off a cliff?
You can't respawn, yeah. Over time, the isolation in his life, it grew darker. He started to have resentment, certain entitlements, and eventually a belief that he had the right to punish others. This wasn't a breakdown. It was a mindset, one that had been building over years. So let's get into it.